Now, how possible is it going to be to combat IS without Iran on board, because they weren't in Paris?
Well, Iran actually is fighting IS, and its representatives, I should say, are fighting IS probably more than any other force right now, because Iran backs various militias in Iraq. Asad al-Haq is one of them, and they have been involved in some fierce fighting, these Iraqi Shiite militias with IS fighters. But, you know, it's what's going on in Iraq and Syria is already immensely tangled, and this new fight grafts another layer of confrontation and difficulty onto all of that, and there are all kinds of contradictions and potential mishaps in the future inherent in all of everything that's happening.
And Jeremy, among the 40 countries involved in the summit in Paris were 10 Gulf Arab states. Why has it taken so long for them to get involved when this is all going on in their backyard?
Well, they are already, some of them anyway, maybe all to a greater and lesser degree, involved in what's going on in Syria, notably the Saudis and the Qataris. Now, there are Saudis and Qataris have trained and equipped some Sunni Muslim militias that are fighting against the Assad regime. Now, some of those fighters have moved over to IS and turned their weapons in the opposite direction. So in terms of how much they decide to add to this coalition, those two Gulf powers have to work out how that affects their existing interests in the country. President Assad, for example, has men tied up fighting Islamic State at the moment. The Saudis would like to overthrow President Assad. So one of their calculations has to be, if we hit or we allow others to hit or help them to hit Islamic State, how does that help our enemy, President Assad? You see, so it's different layers of confrontation here, which make it very hard to manage.
And Jeremy, one last question. Islamic State are probably watching with interest events unfolding in Paris as well, an international coalition forming. What are they going to think about an international coalition bringing the fight to them? It's what they want, isn't it?
You know, I think that the kinds of mentalities that are behind Islamic State would like a fight with the Americans. I think they have been picking a fight with the West especially, and with other Sunni powers that they dislike, like the Saudis, and with the Iranians, who they consider to be outright heretics. So, yeah, I think that their calculation is that, and it's typical of some of these fights in what's called asymmetric warfare, people who look weak on paper opposed to people who look strong on paper. And they may look weaker on paper than everything massed against them, but they may calculate that they can deflect some of that force back by using it as a recruiting sergeant for their own particular ideology and beliefs.
OK, Jeremy Bowen, live in Damascus for us. Great to talk to you, Jeremy. Thank you very much indeed.